As managing director of Volvo Cars Gent, he turned over 4.5 billion euros. And now he's contributing to the expansion of Vergocam International. But Peter Leyman would like to introduce a new concept today, the concept of remotion, because making a promotion isn't always the right thing in your career. Sometimes you have to take one step back to restart in a better way. The French have their saying, reculer pour mieux sauter. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Leyman.
Good morning. I want to talk a little bit about remotion. Perhaps you will not find that directly in a dictionary, because it's a new word. It was created when I was asked to speak a little bit or give my experience about demotion for a book written by Tanja Verheyen and Bob Vermeer, who is working at the VRT. And they asked me, do you want to give your experiences regarding demotion? And while we were talking about this, we said demotion is extremely negative and it's not accepted in our culture, in our Flemish European culture that has already been said this morning. So why couldn't we find a new concept, a new word? And we were starting to talk about remotion, taking one step back in order to take a new start. And that was now 3 years ago, and I was asked several times to just tell my story, what I experienced in my life, in my professional career. We are now 3 years further. It's for the first time in English. I apologize for that. But I'm still asked 2 to 3 times every month to talk about this. I don't know why. Perhaps we will see after this meeting. My story starts in 1988. I finished my studies in Ghent at the university, economics, and I did also a financial MBA at the Vreeloek School. And at that moment, leaving the army, I was asked at that time by the HR director of Volvo Cars Ghent if I was prepared to start up or to pick up a job in the plant. I said, yeah, why not? If you are that young, you don't have any experience which you can write on your curriculum. Why shouldn't you start just a job, do it for 6 months, and at that moment you have the experience. You can write it in your curriculum. So I said, okay, I will do it. But then he said, okay, but it's in the HR department. I said, oh, that's a little bit strange because I'm an economist, and you asked me to take up a job in the HR department. But nevertheless, I will do it. I will do it for 6 months, and then we will see further. I was asked to start up compensation and benefits within Volvo Europe because there were no extra legal benefits at that time, and yeah, it was the time that everybody started to speak about extra legal pensions, hospitality insurances and those things, and I was asked to start it up. I did this for 3 years, and at that moment I was prepared, everything was settled. I was preparing myself to leave the company and perhaps to take up a job more in the direction of economics, financial economics, at a bank or something like that. But at the moment, the management in Volvo asked me, yeah, Peter, would you like to start up the internal department, the internal audit department within Volvo? Because Volvo was an international company, but it was a Swedish company. And if you know the Swedish culture, it's a culture where it's a feminine culture, a collective culture which is thinking in collective terms. And the startup or the way they think is that you can trust everybody until the opposite has been proven. Yeah, I've worked also for Ford Motor Company, which is an American company. There you mistrust everybody until the opposite is proven. Yeah? But because of that, in Sweden they were thinking, or they were convinced that an internal audit department was not necessary. Nevertheless, as an international company, they saw that at certain moments you need to have some control systems, and I started up this department again for 3 years. After that, again, the department settled. I was preparing again myself to leave the company and to do something else. But at that moment, the same HR director asked me whether I want to come back to the HR department. I said, yeah, why should I do that? and especially to do to take up industrial relations. Industrial relations is daily working with the unions together. Yeah. Now you have to know I'm coming from a family with independent workers. My father was independent, my mother also, small company. Yeah, and I heard my whole life that unions is something bad, you have to avoid, you can't discuss. Yeah, and at that moment I was asked to work together daily with them. Yeah, I never learned at the school, at high school, at university for 6 years. I never learned anything about unions. I hope this has changed in the meantime. I didn't know how that works, how you communicate with them, how you negotiate with them. But nevertheless, I was so interested, yeah, because I was already in contact with them during my compensation and benefit period, because I was calculator at the moment we negotiated. Yeah? You have two teams. You have the team who is negotiating in the front line, and in the back office, the team which is making the calculation. So I had already some contacts, and I said, okay, yeah, why shouldn't I do this? Because the other statement was that if you want to become a CEO of this plant, you need to come back to HR. CEO. I never thought of becoming CEO of that plant. It was the first time I heard that. I knew that a lot of colleagues were prepared to take, or were preparing themselves, yeah, to take up that job. But I never thought it over. Yeah. So I said, okay, why shouldn't we do this? It's again a new experience. I like new experiences. And I took up the job. And you can see already now that the red line through my story is I was always asked. Yeah, I never applied for. Yeah? That will come back the whole time. So I took up industrial relations, negotiated a lot with the unions, learned extremely how this world works, yeah, which is like today, yeah, very comfortable. And after 3-4 years, I was asked to take up the final responsibility or the total responsibility for the HR department. And with the task to change the whole culture within the plant from a tailor-made system to a self-steering team concept, yeah, which was extremely challenging. And I said, okay, I will do this again for some years, but then we will see what happens then. And after 5 years, and then we are now in 2001, 2 years before, in 1999, I was asked to come to Sweden, and if I was prepared to take up the job of the CEO of that plant. I didn't know why they asked me. I never applied for it. I know there were a lot of colleagues who were to take up and willing to have this job. But I said, okay, if you want me to do it, I will do it. And that's, I never thought it would come that far, but in 2001, I was asked to take up that job with some extremely great challenges. I had to double the capacity. We were producing 150,000 cars a year. I had to double it towards 300,000. And in order to be able to do this, I had to recruit 2,200 people within 18 months. Yeah. It's not an evident job. We recruited, or we selected 12,000. We saw 12,000 people, of which 2,200 finally were selected within 18 months. I will never do that job again. By the way, I think it was the last time that such a recruitment process within the Flemish industry has taken part. Yeah. And I mentioned that already at that time. Now we are 10 years later, and it's still like that. Yeah. The thing is that when I took up this job, I had the age of 38. And I said, okay, if I take up this job at the age of 38, within 5 years, because I saw that my professional periods of taking up a job were during more or less 5 years. Within 5 years from now, I will have two choices. Or I have to go internationally, yeah, and at that moment, Volvo was a part of the Ford Motor Company, or I have to leave the company because I was sitting at the highest level. I can assure you, at the age of 38, it's not evident that you know already what will come within 5 years. Yeah? And I knew at that moment, more or less, for sure, that I should leave the company because going international was not an option family-wise. Yeah? Finally, I did this job for 6 years and left. And they asked me to do it one year longer, and then I left the company. But at that time, I was a lot of times in contact with Yves Leterme. And Yves Leterme was at that moment the Flemish Prime Minister. We went to Sweden for 3 days at a certain moment, and in the plane, yeah, yes, Mr. President, no, Mr. President, but in the evening at the bar, it's Yves and Peter, and so you know how that goes. Yeah, so there was a certain kind of chemistry between us. Yeah, we had more or less same visions on things, same vision on things, and I said to myself, leaving the company, leaving Volvo, I have to first inform Yves Leterme, because he's the Prime Minister. So I went to Martelaarsplein and informed him in January 2007, I will leave the company. Just for your information, it will be announced within a couple of days. He said, Peter, I was allowed to say Yves, and he said, Peter, that's okay. What do you think? Have you already a new job? No. I had no plan at that moment immediately. Why shouldn't you join the politics? Why shouldn't you join in the federal parliament? Why shouldn't you go and stay on the list, on the voting list in June 2007? I said, yeah, I would. I was prepared, or it was my wish to do something else. Because if I was asked, if I would have been asked at that moment to take up a job of CEO at Ford or at Opel, I shouldn't have done it. I wanted to do something different. But I was only allowed to think it over one night, and I couldn't speak to anybody about it. That's not immediately the best choice, but okay. And I said, okay, if you want to do something else, perhaps this train will only pass once by, and I decided to go for it. In the beginning of 2007, I was extremely enthusiastic. I went on campaign every day, talking every evening, sometimes with success, sometimes not with success. With success, for instance, in Meelbeke, 800 people at a certain Saturday evening, in Wachtebeke for 11 people, of which 10 of het Vlaams Blok, and that's not immediately that comfortable. Yeah. But okay, I was elected with quite a number of votes. And then I went to the parliament, the federal parliament, sitting there. Yeah. And I was asked to change my holiday because the government would be settled during July. So I moved my holiday to August. And then I was asked to move my holiday from August to September, which was not possible because of the kids. So no holiday at the moment. But the government should be settled at every moment. Yeah. And we had to wait. We had to wait. We were not allowed to do anything. Why? Because we were not sure that the party would have been part of the government. So at that moment, as long as you didn't know that, you were not allowed to do anything. Yeah? So I was sitting there, yeah, knowing that I came from an extremely busy environment within the automotive business. I was sitting there and boring myself every day. Yeah? And in the end of the year, due to the fact that we had to wait that long, the acidifying process started up. So from being extremely enthusiastic, I became quite acidified at that moment. And I decided for myself, this is indeed something different, but it's too different with my competences for what I'm able to do. Yeah? Why? Because I came from an extremely structuralized environment to more or less a chaos. I came from a material environment to an immaterial environment, and that difference was too big. Yeah? So I decided, okay, this is not my world. I learned that politics is a métier. It's a profession. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah? But I was not trained for that. It was not my world. So I decided to leave. And I left in December 2007. But applause from everybody because I took that decision. At that moment, I was asked by 4 companies because I mentioned already in the press here and there that I was looking for something else, that I wouldn't stay in politics. At the end of 2007, there were 4 companies who asked me if I was prepared to join them. Finally, I decided to go for one of them, Verhoekan in Oudenaarde, which is a medium company, 400 people. Yeah. And I joined that in the beginning of 2008. Cable Tray Systems is the company. So I learned a lot there. Why? Volvo is a big company. Volvo Cars Ghent was a big company, but it was a cost center. It was only production. Yeah? Verhoekan was not only production, it was a total company. So I had to keep busy with finance, with purchase, HR, and all the things, with sales, which was not, which I didn't have any experience in. So I need to do everything. If there was no money in the bank, or if there was no middle sheet in the company or in the production hall, it was my job to find it out. Also there were a lot of challenges. I was asked to start up a plant in Russia, 150 kilometers northwest of Moscow, in Tver, Redkino, yeah. So I went for 8 months over there. Now I learned extremely, because I'm very interested in cultural differences. And besides the fact that the Russian people are white, there is no any other comparability, or we are completely different. Yeah. Also that I will do only once, starting up a plant in Russia. Yeah. But production is up and running. And after 2 years, we are then 2009, we had again elections. We are very used to that here in Belgium. We had again elections. And Philip Meuters, at that time CEO of VOCA, was asked, and yeah, he chose to go for a job as a minister in the Flemish government. So there was a place at vacature at VOCA of CEO. And I was asked at that moment by the president if I would take up that job. I said no. No, why? Because it's semi-public, it's semi-politic again. So I won't do the same mistake twice. And I said no, I refused. 1 month later, I was asked again, yeah, to take up that job. I refused again. Third time, I was invited at the brasserie in Ghent. And I opened the door, and there were 4 captains of industry sitting over there. Peter, sit down, listen carefully. Yeah, you're the biggest, you're the greatest, you're the smartest. You can negotiate with unions, you have international experience. So the only one who can take up the job is you. 4 hours. Yeah, and around midnight, I said, okay, no choice. Perhaps I will take up that job. So I was not that enthusiastic. But I took that decision to go for it. Now, you don't have to regret too much in life. Therefore, we are too short here. But if there is one thing I'm still regretting, then it's that decision. Yeah. I started up, or I took up the job in Antwerp, being CEO at VOCA. And after 6 months, I felt already, this is not my environment. Yeah? This is again semi-public. This is again semi-political. I have the, my competence is going from A to B in one line. Yeah? In those organizations, you go from A to B in all possible, yeah, curves and whatever. Yeah? So there was no chemistry between people. There was a completely different view on vision, how to, and strategy, how to go forward with that company or with that organization. And after 1 year, I had to leave that company. Otherwise, I shouldn't have survived it. Yeah? And then we are talking about 3 years ago. I quit, and then I fell down in a black hole. I have no problems to speak about this. It's not that easy, but I was confronted with myself, and I started to doubt about my competences and talents. Yeah. A black period. Lucky that I had a great network, a big network. I started immediately to talk to people, yeah, and then talking to people under 4 eyes, yeah, you feel that you're not the only one who has experienced this, but people don't talk about this. This is taboo in Belgium, in Europe, yeah, you don't talk about this, yeah. I had also family who was standing behind me. I was asked 3 weeks afterwards to become CEO of a new plant in Brussels. I said, I can't do it. I don't feel good enough to take up now a new job as CEO. Yeah. So it was quite a different period, difficult period, sorry. And I said, okay, after 3-4 months, because the best thing you can do is not to start immediately again. You have to think things over. For the first time in my life, I sent a lot of people, hundreds, perhaps thousands of people on people on MBTIs, assessments and those things. For the first time in my life, I went myself to an MBTI and to an assessment, learning that I'm quite introvert. If you're introvert, you better don't join politics or the political world. Yeah? But I didn't know it. Yeah? That was my problem. Yeah? Also, I found out what is now my personal mission. My personal mission is getting people at work. My personal strategy is leading an organization and inspiring the people towards the same goal and towards the same strategy. That's what and that's also what came out of the assessment, what my competences and talents are. Yeah? So I said I have to do something with this, yeah, and not go for other things. To recover a little bit more, I went for 1 year on some interim jobs, being, yeah, at that time 51, I think, no 50, yeah. But 50 is too early. In my opinion, 50 is too early to take up interim jobs. And my problem was also you don't have the final responsibility, yeah. And I like to have the final responsibility. If you design something, if you roll out something, you also need to have the final decision possibility, or the possibility to take the final decisions in that respect. So I said, after 1 year, now I'm prepared to take up a job again as final responsible of an organization. And my wife found out in the Zondagskrant, yeah, something which we seldom read, that there was a vacancy in a sheltered workshop in Ghent. Ah, that's something for you. I said, sheltered workshop? What's that? I didn't know what it was about. Social economy. It's not for me. It's geitenwolle soccer business. It's not for me. But after 14 days, I said, yeah, perhaps it's something, because I went to the internet, of course, and read about it here and there. I said, yeah, why shouldn't I apply? So I found out in the paper basket, yeah, I found the vacancy back, and I applied, and I went to the board of directors, and they said, Mr. Leyman, you have 2 problems. First of all, you are 183 candidates. I said, yeah, okay, if I'm one of them, it's your choice to decide. And secondly, you are overqualified. I said, yeah, that's your problem, not mine. Yeah, but you, yeah. And then for the first time in my life, I went through a true selection process. Yeah. 6 times I have to go to the board of directors, to assessors and those things. And I did it on a very calm way, but in the final end, when we left over with 2, I said, no, it's a pity if I should miss this. But they decided to pick me up. And now since 2 years and a half, I'm responsible for the sheltered workshop in Ghent, Ryhove, yeah, and I'm enjoying my work a lot. Yeah. I'm earning only 30% of my income at the time of VOCA, but I bought a lot of quality of life, and that is extremely important. Yeah, that is what I learned afterwards. Why am I now telling this story 2 times, 3 times a month? For a couple of reasons. First, I want to get the failure, the fact that you don't speak about failure. I want to take it out of the taboo atmosphere. Yeah? Because we have to look upon careers in another direction. Yeah? I'm educated at home that, yeah, you have to study it at the highest level, university, engineer, and those things, and then you have to go for career and only go for promotions. I think we have to look upon a career in another way, and especially if we have to work longer. Yeah? That's not possible to do it like that. It's my opinion. Yeah? But if you go for a career where you, yeah, I have no problems that young people in a short period make a high promotion, but afterwards it needs also to be possible that they take 1 step back, go back for learning, yeah, because lifelong learning is an extremely great problem in the Belgium and the Flemish region. Yeah, I'm the best example of this. Yeah, I went 18 years to school and then it was finished and I never learned anything again. But it's so important. You need to have the opportunity to do this. And if you have to work longer, you also need to be able to take a step back in order to work a little bit years more. And I give a last example in that respect. My predecessor at Volvo was 56 at the time. And he asked me, Peter, I was on HR, would you like to go to Sweden and ask if I can do a job again in HR department, social services? Yeah? He started over there. Yeah? I said, I will do my best. I went twice to Sweden to ask this, and it was not accepted. As a CEO, you don't do a step back like that. He was 5 years CEO at that moment, and he was completely burned out. Yeah. So he went on early retirement, and at that moment there were 3 parties which were disappointed. First of all, himself, because he had to stop his professional career. Secondly, the company, because we were missing and lacking his competences. And secondly, the society, because we had to pay him for his early retirement. Yeah? I hope that by telling this story, and I think I will do it 1 generation more, but for instance, I did it for the Works Council of KBC, and they have now made a collective agreement with the unions that people at a certain age may go on their cost to the social economy. Yeah, it's fantastic in my opinion. So this is a little bit what I want to talk about. It's not because you fail at a certain moment that you're losing your competences or your talents, but you have to learn about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leyman. Please stay a little bit on stage with me, because we had a lot of questions. A lot of them you answered spontaneously during your presentation. One question just came in. I would like to ask you. You said you were overqualified for the job at Ryhove. Paul is asking himself, but what about your age? Didn't they tell you were too old?
No, because at that moment there was a lot to do about taking in people at the age of 50. And I was at that moment exactly 50. So it was not the point. And still we are looking, if there is a vacancy today, we are still, yeah, everybody is welcome. What age they have also. It's the competence we need and we are looking for, and not the age.
Okay, that's a nice conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Leyman.